Welcome to Deep Dive Daily.
What up? What up? What up? What up?
Still us. It's still surprising.
Yeah, you need a longer runway. Should I make it longer? Anyway,
No.
welcome.
I'll get used to it.
Wednesday, March 19th. We are getting closer to the real tournament tipping off. The fake tournament tipping off yesterday was enjoyable in the first game, at least from some drama standpoints. And then, boy, that second game was a bust. El Busto Mundo.
My hot streak continues.
Yeah.
Somebody faked that up to like 143, or maybe it was a real move. I didn't really go digging into the the timestamps and some of the actual moves on the board on any of the screens, but it got bet up to like 143, and then closed 141, dropped hard late.
Oh yeah.
And then never. There was a spot. I mean, late in the first half, the total was
live
like
total was like 138,
138,
yeah.
and then dead from there. So
yeah, the bigger is when the margin got
search,
to a certain point, and San Diego State switched to the strategy of okay, let's just bomb threes. Then you were kind of like, oh, game over. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway.
as it turns out, NC decent. It's funny how people flip, and a big portion of the market was betting them yesterday. It's not like they didn't have support, but it's funny, like some people who were not involved in that game, who maybe were feeling, SDSU had a shot there, suddenly like, well, maybe I should lay points with this NC team again. Maybe I should bet, because it's out to 1.5 in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
The actual, matchup in 11-6 now. So interesting to see. Maybe your shit talking about the ACC was wrong.
That could be. That makes things look pretty good for my bracket though, because that means Florida Duke is just going to happen, which would be fun. We'll get to brackets though in a minute. It was a very good night for me in the NBA last night. Huge, two big. Kind of no sweaters, which was nice. I guess there was some times I was sweating the Nets, I guess, a little bit, but just want to mention that Peyton Pritchard was fucking awful again. I don't know how much longer he can get away with this. This guy has one standout performance against absolute G League scrubs where he scored 43 points. Otherwise, his 6-man stats look terrible. Malik Beasley needs to. He might have had a little bit of hot hand, which got him close, but not close enough. I would love to see him put together a little run of form here in March to close things out, to make things closer, to give people a reason just to not vote for Pritchard. But 6th man of the year is still in the balance, in my opinion. That's probably the biggest value on the board. That and Draymond Green DPOI. I mentioned it yesterday, kind of picking Jay's brain about it. He was sort of like, yeah, I think it's a 2-man race, 75%. Mobley, 25%. Draymond, well, now it's maybe more like 60-40. Last night, if you weren't paying attention, super late, Evan Mobley got utterly destroyed by the Clippers and James Harden, of all people. A lot of, kind of high currency social media push of Mobley looking pretty bad defensively, combined with the fact that on that same night, Draymond Green held Giannis scoreless, and then did a 3-minute from the podium campaign for himself for Defensive Player of the Year award number 2. Like some of his messaging was very clever, I thought, where he's literally talking directly to voters, and he's like, you guys don't understand this award. You give it to guys who have blocks and steals, when what really matters, if you really knew ball, you'd vote for me, Like that kind of campaigning works. Like it's pretty compelling. So I'm very closely watching that because I have a lot of Mobley in pocket, and that could flip pretty quick.
I didn't watch any of the games last night. I can't watch. I mean, there was college ball on. I'm not gonna choose the NBA over that.
Okay. Why watch the professionals who are at the top of their craft when you can watch the amateurs?
Definitely.
Well below that.
Cut part of the Timberwolves game and part of the Warriors game. That's super professional performances by some of the best teams in the West. That's what I was.
Yes.
Or the Thunder. Very professional of them putting out that lineup the other day.
Well, that's very fair. I think the Thunder, by the way, are just going to win all the way in. Look, if you look at the rest of the Thunder's schedule, they have back-to-backs against the Lakers. Otherwise, they're going to be 8 to 16-point favorites in every game remaining, which is absolutely insane. They could rest a guy a night and still be 8-point or more favorites in, 95% of their remaining games, which is insane. One other award market to keep an eye on as we get into sort of the real content dregs of the NBA season, where people really do have fights over who ought to be the third team All NBA. The most improved player got interesting last night because support has consolidated around Mr. Dyson Daniels, the Great Barrier Thief. Have you heard that nickname?
No, but I like it.
He's an Australian guy of G League Unite on to the Pelicans. The Pelicans didn't know what to do with them because they don't know what to do with any young talent, apparently. Sent him to the Hawks, and he is absolutely destroying right now as far as step forward game-wise. And I think there's a lot of people that feel like the spirit of the award is really well represented by Dyson Daniels because he was a 6-point-a-game player last year. And now this year, he's a 15-point-a-game player on a team where he is like anchoring a defense and is going to lead in steals and blocks combined for the first time. A guard will do that since Michael Jordan. Like the case is very, very compelling for him. But even more than that, like there does feel like there's a little bit of a soft case for Cade Cunningham and some soft support for Cade Cunningham out there. So I think we're going to wake up one of these days and that's going to be a 50-50 market. And then everybody who's doing content that needs to talk about a horse race in the awards market is going to be talking about most improved player. And they're going to make the case for us that it is pretty obviously Dyson Daniels. So keep an eye on that one as well.
Patrick in the chat here, longtime listener, long-time commenter, many comments over the years, probably thousands. Says the most confusing award market is Hart in the NHL. Is no one paying attention to this? Every NHL award is confusing if you don't follow hockey because you have to Google what does the Hart Award for? Like I just can't keep them straight because they give them all names. It's like in the NFL if we started giving all these NFL awards, I follow NFL. I certainly would remember after a couple months. But if you don't pay attention to hockey, all the awards are named after people, and I can't remember which is which ever. This is MVP. Hart is MVP, but there's like Lady Bings and President's Cups and all sorts of things. And I don't know. I looked up the odds.
I'm confused, not because I don't know what the Hart is, but because I'm not paying attention. So I kind of assume the player with the most heart, Andy. It's pretty. It's
Daniil
Medvedev. Oh, sorry. The NHL awards markets, I'm sure, are 10 times softer than.
Well, now I need to dig into this. Ones. Well, I don't know. I know a lot of people who've bet.
Don't people like the Winnipeg, the Jets goalie? I've heard the Jets goalie is the sneaky heart bet.
So the leader is Leon Draisaitl, who I guess is good. I know he's a very good player.
He's definitely good. There's no guessing there.
Isn't there a better player on his own team? I guess I need to go look at the stats and see where McDavid, or maybe there's some McDavid fatigue or something. But yeah, Connor Hellebuck, who played in the, I think he was Four Nations goalie when we were watching that. He's plus 135. He's your second favorite. And then Nate McKinnon, Kucherov, Zach Werenski, a name I'm not familiar with, and then Connor McDavid's behind them. Yeah, maybe McKinnon. You say McKinnon, I'd say McKinnon. I'm gonna take a small bet on McKinnon just because Patrick said something, and looking to maybe jinx an ice hockey this week.
Let's talk about bracket and bracket pools. I want to get your final thoughts as you are hopefully at this point finalizing your bracket. And I want to talk a little survivor strategy, but before there, I got a little airing of grievances, Andy. Not sure if you've kind of caught onto this. I'm sure you have. But there's a company out there running pools called Splash Sports. Mm-hmm. I've got a problem with them. You want to guess what it is? You want to guess? You want to guess what it is?
The rake?
That's not great.
No, I mean the rake on all those is what it is, and they can't survive if they don't have some sort of
Yes. Yeah.
income stream.
Yeah.
What is
The
it?
logo. Why did
Oh,
we let a
thought this was
5-year-old just copy the deep dive logo and we're stealing it for a run your pool thing? It looks amazingly unprofessional. What the hell is going on here? If you want to steal a whale logo, just take it and flip it, or take the Vineyard Vine one. I mean,
I was gonna say it is clearly
I'm
whale
blown
capper,
away by the logo.
Vineyard Vines,
It's so bad.
and then there's a bunch, and then that one. Yeah, it's not the best whale.
Like I feel bad shitting on whatever CEO's 5-year-old did the artwork, but like it's not good. It's not good. If they could have reached out to obviously people with with whale kind of existing whale branding if they needed any type of notes on that, but that's fine. The platform itself is also, it's gotten better. When they first rolled it out, it was a little clunky, but boy, oh boy, like there's a big upsell on exactly what the prize pools are going to be in all of these, right? They are very much advertising, if this fills up all of the spots that have been dedicated, this is what the prize pool will be, as opposed to this is currently the prize pool you're playing for, which I think is a little
that, because some of them are guaranteed. You need to look for the word guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because there can be and has been overlay in some of the big ones, especially the golf contests. If you do like weekly, somebody in the Discord put me onto that because I'd said something about it. Like the tiers contests you have for masters and whatnot. They have those like every week. If you like those and you think you have some sort of edge in those, if you've done well in those historically, apparently you can do them every week, basically for every tournament. I don't know what the rake is, and I don't know what the payouts are, but it's worth something looking at. They don't, not sponsored. They don't pay us. I think
they don't.
They did.
You know how they don't pay us. Just look at the logo. The kind of Survivor thoughts real quick, and then we'll get to brackets, which is the main event today. Every Survivor pool has kind of its own internal strategy, right? Like if you're in a gigantic pool, like what's the big one I'm in, the Muse Finn's pool, the 2025 Muse Dog Classic is probably going to have over 1,000 entries this year, which is awesome. There's a little bit, I mean, tiebreakers may matter in a pool that big, but there's almost a little bit of an advantage in a giant pool to be the rebuy, right? Like if you are coming in and that you have not used your 3s and 4s and 2s, you're a little bit better off in the Sweet 16 round. So I think there's very clear game theory where swinging away at some 8s and 9s in round 1 and round 2, not round 2, but in round 1 certainly makes a little bit more sense in a pool like that. Swinging away on like a Colorado State, who's 2.5 point favorite, and I don't know a lot of people are going to be picking that, but getting a 12 seed and getting the bonus points for that is pretty big. So there's the size of the pool for Survivor matters a ton. After that, it's pretty just straightforward math. Like you're looking for a team that is going to lose a proportionally large amount of their win expectancy in the next round, right? And what I mean by that is it's a pretty straightforward calculation. You can go to effectively any site that has
any site that has power ratings.
Power ratings are projected win probabilities per round, and you can take the difference between the round 32, the round of 64 win probability and the round of 32 win probability, normalize it by the round of 32 win probability, and you kind of know exactly how much you're going to lose and whether it makes sense to choose that team this year. So this is a great example is like Wisconsin right now has a win probability of about 92%. In round 1, they have a win probability of 52% in round 2. So that delta is massive, combined with the fact that they're close to 100% for round 1, makes them, in my opinion, at least the top choice for, Survivor for day 1. The rest of the other good round 1 choices are also on Thursday, which makes things tricky if you're in the must pick one per day type of pool.
I feel like isn't that more common? I feel like one
I
per
think that's the
day
most common. Yeah,
is more common than I've seen some people say it's one per round, and I
that's
swear to
crazy.
God, I definitely played in one where you had to pick 2 on day 1 and 2 on day 2,
Sure.
but you had like I think there was like 3 rebuys. Like you could rebuy after the first 2 days or first 3 days or something, so it mattered a little less, but it was tough to get through those first 2 days.
Yeah. The other day one choices are Gonzaga, Missouri, and St. John's, from what I can tell you. Um, and then kind of there's not many great day two choices. Kentucky pops for me. I've heard people kind of mention Maryland as the team. Arizona is an interesting one if you think that they're going to be in a war with Oregon.
What about UCLA?
I only
guess
have them.
I have a lower rating.
Oh no, but see, that's the thing is like you normalize it by what their win. Is it okay? Well, you also you normalize it by their win probability on round one, and so that's only 67%. Even though their step down is to 24%, and the delta is massive that you lose there, you still got to factor in there's a 1/3 chance you're not even making it out of round one. So that's a big number. You have to pick somebody that's at least 80%, I think, to get through to round two, which is why teams like Wisconsin, Kentucky make the most sense for me. That's probably what I'm just going to do. Like, I think Wisconsin and Kentucky are both red flags, by the way. If you kind of go again with the Bart Torvik teams that can't force defensive turnovers as a kind of a red flag that matters. Wisconsin and Kentucky both qualify as potential early outs in this tournament, as does Alabama, as does Kansas, as does Illinois. And the idea there is just, if they need to force turnovers to create extra possessions to narrow a second half deficit, they can't fucking do it. And so, I have not taken those teams deep into the tournament personally. How about you, Andy?
And it is tricky because you're weighing. It's completely binary. Like you can look at, I got to save certain teams. You look at that. Well, saving that team does you no good if you lose right now, especially one without rebuys. I think ones with rebuys, the calculus definitely changes. Where something like BYU, if you really like, the second round loss, or excuse me, UCLA as a spot, maybe you have somebody higher than market, and it's something like that where there's somewhere in the 65 to 75% chance to win their first round, but they have a terrible second round matchup. I think those are more useful in something with rebuys, especially one where you're willing to rebuy, but also when you're figuring out. Well, I mean, the thing is too, when you're doing your expected value calculations on what can I actually win here. Remember, you're doubling your pay. You're buying at that point as well.
True.
Too. So
it's true.
I think that's maybe one of those for a bigger bracket pool where that does have, or survivor pool that does have rebuys. I just filled up my first bracket. It's pretty ugly.
Okay. Well, let's hit some of the highs. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the Deep Dive Discord, who hosted a very, very good little. I almost want to call it like a workshop yesterday, where the guys who bet college basketball regularly did a very, very good job informing us on like what's what, who's healthy, who matters, what is the current state of the market. I enjoyed that tremendously. So hat tip to you guys, and thank you for for putting that on publicly. 10,000 foot view. I feel like the bracket is very balanced. Most of my futures play when it comes to March Madness is trying to key on imbalance and find the weak region or the weak half, and then you take a good team there and let chaos play out in the other regions on the other half. But that's not really the case here, as they have done it was such a clear and obvious top four that you kind of couldn't have imbalance, right? Like there's not really, and even the second four, like I don't think there was really anything controversial about either of the the 1 through 4 or the 5 through 8 here. You can make a case that the 3 seeds was not even really very controversial, but whatever the case is, like it's a very fair and balanced bracket, and there's no real like soft regions as far as I can tell you. To me, at least, Auburn got punished with a very challenging region. They're going to have a tough contest in round of 32, Sweet 16, and Final Four. Regardless of who comes through, those are all three going to be really tough tests.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, you're talking Michigan State, Iowa State, maybe even North Carolina, Ole Miss, somebody who sneaks through on the other side. There's a bunch of good teams, and
yeah,
like you said, you can say punish, but at the same time, it isn't one of those where there's that one region. It's like, holy shit. It does feel a little more balanced, which is nice. I think that's a little more fair.
Unless you want to play futures.
I mean, unless like that's not built into the market.
It never is. No, there's always an asymmetry. There's always an asymmetry. There's always an asymmetry.
If it's not, it's built in pretty quickly. Because if everybody says, well, this is the soft region, futures are definitely going to drop. Jesus, speaking of that, did you see that yesterday?
No.
Noon yesterday.
Oh, the waves.
Tea times come out. Odds flew. I don't even believe that it was bets. I think a lot of it was just on air, traders knowing what's going to happen. I mean, Zalatoris went from like 25 to 38 because he's in the afternoon. I mean, things flew. It sucked because that was one of the old time, hey, let's grab some value before everyone else pounds it. But books moved very quickly on that. It's like the old the favorite drops out and you have a half hour to bet some futures before 5%. It's like 5 or 10% of the equity is suddenly gone from the pool, even though it's 140% hold at that point. It doesn't matter, but it's still something. You can get a little bit of value, but slowly the traders are getting better at shit like that, which kind of stunk. But at a certain point, it's weather, and it's very uncertain. We've had 2 straight tournaments where we predicted some nasty weather that wasn't there on certain days. So there's some people that are like, "Fuck it, I'll play the wind, guys." If you're gonna make the odds that bad. It's the same thing as some of the adjustments you see in the bracket futures.
Yeah, as long as we're talking country club sports before we get to the rest of the bracket talk. Showtime 102 asks, do you think Alcaraz walks it in Miami? My numbers say he should be walking it in every tournament that Sinner's not in, but for some reason in these thousands, he just goes a little spacey at times. His performance against Draper was awful. Like, I don't know where that came from. I don't know why he played that poorly. And yeah, I think you just have to kind of accept that he could airmail one. But my numbers say he should be shorter than he is in this one, and then it's not going to be especially competitive. I don't know. I don't see anyone in his half of the draw that looks troubling to me. So Alcaraz, let's go. Going back to kind of macro thoughts here, Auburn looks like the 1 seed that is the most unlikely to get to the Final Four just because of path and because, of course, they have some issues with current form that we don't really need to go into detail with. Duke is interesting because they have a very, very true and obvious test in the Sweet 16. Whoever wins that Arizona-Oregon game is going to be a handful for Duke. And if they don't have a healthy Cooper Flag, then I don't know that that's a walkover at all. Their Elite Eight game, if they get to the Elite Eight, on the other hand, it does look pretty soft. That bottom half of the East, to me, looks the most like kind of potentially chaotic, just because Wisconsin and Alabama again have red flags as far as forcing defensive turnovers, which means they could be surprise early outs. Any thoughts on the top for you?
I mean, that all checks out.
Okay.
Duke, I believe Duke is, even without Flag, for maybe a round or two. The games we're talking, the Duke Arizona, Duke Oregon game is basically in 2 weeks. Really, it does feel like Flag is trending in either way, but even if they sit him for the American Mount St. Mary's game, just because it's a 16 seed, I do think he plays by second weekend at a minimum. So kind of feels like a pretty ugly, chalky one, because it is hard to pick some upsets in this one. Your kind of your middle of the pack seeds, your BYU's and your St. Mary's are trending in the right direction late in the season. So you're going to pick against Arizona. You're going to pick against Oregon. You certainly, Robert Morris and whoever the 16th seed. It's very hard to pick upsets. I think you're going to see maybe the chalkiest region in the brackets.
Okay.
It's probably a good one to get weird with if you're in some massive contest with thousands because, man, like, I don't know. Like, look at the underseeds. And you can't count Baylor, Mississippi. Like, who's your pick one upset from 12 to 16?
It has to be VCU. That's going to be the game of the day on Thursday, by the way.
12, that's not 12 to 16.
Oh, 12 to 16? No, I got nothing.
I don't know that I can.
Bob Morris, Montana. I mean, Bob Morris and Montana, like, again, because Wisconsin and Alabama are a little bit boom or bust and can't force turnovers, like, I don't know.
I could pick against a Big Ten team. Montana would be.
You want to take Montana? Well, we're come full circle. I've knocked myself out of Survivor on day one with taking Wisconsin. Okay, well, I got to think about this. I mean, in the Muse Dog Classic, I'm going to go full contrarian because again, like I think there is actually an advantage to rebuying, and you also like I know tie breaking points matter in that one, but I think ultimately like getting a little weird, going for some double digits.
Take North Carolina.
Yeah, that's shoot, man. I don't have a especially fond feeling for Ole Miss. All right, the bottom half, real quick. The West, Florida looks so unbelievably good right now, coming off of what was a very electric performance in the SEC tournament. That it's extremely tough to pick against them there, and they put a bunch of good, fun, frisky teams in there to kind of have Florida knock out, including Maryland and Texas Tech, which is kind of disappointing. If you had any kind of hope or any kind of feelings for the Terps or the Red Raiders, I think Florida is just going to make life miserable for them. It did come up though last night that Florida's head coach has yet to win a tournament game, which has not been a strong portent for ultimately winning a title.
That's true, but it does feel like he's able to get a couple. Probably gets a couple under.
He probably gets North. Yeah, he probably gets Norfolk State, right?
I think he's able to take down the Spartans, and probably UConn Oklahoma is a game they win by double digits. And it's funny that the team that people are worried about in that part of the bracket is a Mountain West team. So we'll leave it at that. The Mountain West rides again last night. Obviously, there's fun teams underneath. Drake's fun. St. John's is a little bit of a polarizing team. Very, very good, well coached, played really well. I'm trying to think where that region is. Obviously, it's going to be nearby. It's going to be East
Providence
Coast for them. Providence, that's what it was.
Yeah, former home of Calipari. I mean, not Calipari. Former home of
Patino.
Patino, thank you.
Not playing too far away. They should be fine, but kind of suck at the deep ball. So it's another one where if you got to do some catching up against somebody, hopefully you can force some turnovers. Florida's very, very popular. This feels like one where you can pick some more upsets. Kind of the same with the Midwest. Houston is the easiest one seed to pick against, obviously.
Among the top 4 seeds, not to get to the Sweet 16, is St. John's high on your list?
I wish I liked Arkansas more.
Okay. Interesting. They're pretty high for me just because, well, for a lot of reasons. But the fact that they are such a monster public team in the bracket pools is a bad. It incentivizes you to go against, right?
Yeah.
They are the 5th choice right now to ship after the 1 seeds. That's crazy.
Honestly, a contrarian pick is probably Houston into the final.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you went there.
I was going to say, so many people are going to pick. A lot of people love Gonzaga, where it's an 8 seed, but it's ranked so high, and Torvik and Ken Baum and everybody. People are going to pick that Gonzaga upset an awful lot, and then you're going to end up with like Gonzaga, Tennessee, and a lot of Tennessee in the Final Four. Maybe even some Zags, Clemson, Purdue in the Final Four. Where it's like, put Houston in the final. It feels like that's the 1 seed everyone's going to pick against.
It does, and I don't really get it. We talked about this a little bit last night, I think, after you left, but a lot of lack of success at this level to me has been fueled by injury. And so, okay, and fueled by injury and or just they play a style of basketball that has less margin for having a bad day. But to me, this looks like actually a really good draw for them. I think in overall, the Midwest is the weakest. If they get by that Gonzaga test, no, there's no guarantee. By the way, that Gonzaga beats Georgia. Let's not get way over our skis here. But if they get by that 1-8 test, Clemson is beatable, surely. Tennessee is beatable, surely. Kentucky and Tennessee are both vulnerable to not even getting there. I definitely think that the single seeds, if all the single seeds get knocked out early, what portion of the bracket is it? I think it's down there. I think it's that Tennessee, UCLA, Kentucky, Illinois. Like all of those teams could find it difficult to get deep into this mix here. So so that's about it. And I agree with you. The contrarian take is Houston shipping this thing. They have burned so many people over the years. It has become shocking to me that Houston only is the championship pick in 8.8% of brackets is kind of crazy.
The more I look at it, the more I want to take them now. It's a good team. Like it's a 1 seed. It's not some, we had to, there's this huge gap between, honestly, it started with there was the top 2. And then from there on Auburn, Duke, but Florida kind of joined in. Houston's fallen behind, but man, last time Houston lost was an overtime game at Texas Tech. They trucked pretty easily through the tournament.
Yeah. You can have all 4 ones.
They made BYU look bad. They beat Arizona on a neutral.
You're talking about Houston, right?
Yeah.
They
did get their revenge. They got their revenge at Texas Tech.
3 of their 4 losses were in overtime. Their 4th loss was to Auburn, second game of the season. Who cares? Like that's wild. All right. So Final Four, all ones.
It sucks. That sucks. It's no fun.
It would make the Final Four weekend have a little bit of juice for the first time in a long time.
It kind of would have. Would that have juice?
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Real quick before we go. Pick who's your most likely non-1 in every region. We'll just go real quick. Auburn region, Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Duke region, probably Bama.
Yeah. Nah, I'm going to reluctantly say no. I'm going to say it's Arizona. Arizona, I think, comes through that Oregon game and then beats a flagless Duke, and then all of a sudden is the best in that region.
All right. Yeah. Florida region, Texas Tech. And then Houston region is, it's just easily Tennessee because Tennessee, strong SEC
Tennessee, team. Yeah. But none of these teams, there's warts on every team that's not a 1, and the 1s are so fucking strong this year. I think it's just going to be chalky chalk.
Who's your best 2? So, best 2 is Tennessee.
Hey, Andy, tune in April 5th for the start of March Madness. It's basically the Final Four when the 1s play. Yeah. Like the tournament doesn't start until April 5th, guys.
The first round's pretty fun though.
That's fun, sure, for sure. All right, headed to Vegas tomorrow. I'll be at the Cosmo, where they pull out all the couches and they have all the TVs. If you are in Vegas, reach out. Would love to have a drink or two. If you're at the Cosmo, definitely reach out. I'll come find you.
Is that Chandelier? Where's the Chandelier?
It's at the Cosmo. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that joint. No, that joint. It's hopping. It just always seems to have some juice to it.
Oh, absolutely. It has buzz. Yeah, no question. It's got some juice.
It's got sauce.
It's got sauce. Yeah, absolutely love that place. So yeah, no, that's mostly where I'll be hanging out. With that,
last question, Patrick, will there be a stream tonight? We're gonna go. So doing the daily stuff like this, we're gonna probably go to every other until we don't.
Yeah.
Because Because I mean, there's some big stuff coming up. We gotta if every other doesn't work out, where we have a Wednesday night stream the day before the draft, we're going to adjust and have a stream the day before the draft. But for the springtime, I think we'll do this daily one in the morning. It's been a lot of fun, and then I think we'll go every other Wednesday on a late night one and cover a topic in more depth. And I don't know, next week might be NFL. Next week might be Sweet 16 stuff.
Yeah, we got NFL draft coming up. We got there's some good stuff coming up, and I think I'd like to use the long form ones to do interviews. We got to get some smart people on here and talk about them. As we get closer to the NBA playoffs, there's some good NBA folks we could have on, talk a little bit of ball. But yeah, I think that's the direction we're headed. Daily short stuff only for this week, I think.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys a little longer today because we're not doing one tonight and we had a lot to say. So now I'm going to go fill out. I had a list of all the things I've entered or need to enter in my notebook here. As far as like people I need to Venmo like $50. It's
yes.
like, the Venmo's going to get a workout this morning.
You want another great tip?
What's
just
that?
To like not be a jackass when you Venmo people for pools. Don't put anything. Don't put the IRS.
Don't put the IRS
in the thing on. Yeah, don't put the IRS in the note. But beyond just not putting IRS in the note, just like don't put gambling stuff in there. Like great way to get a pool frozen and then no one gets paid. Like that absolutely happens.
You just put a picture of pizza.
I rotate.
Great. I rotate through like car, pizza, like, because what do people Venmo each other for? Like, we split some food, we split some drinks,
sure,
we split a ride, you owe me for rent, whatever it is. So like, I was just putting an emoji that means something like that. I never even write words, man.
That's smart. Good. That's a good tip. Yeah. If you're
like
paying...
that Your Honor, that emoji is very ambiguous.
All right.
2 steps ahead, guys.
Andy was not paying. So,
What's that? Yeah.
All right. Well, best of luck and
right child support.
All right. Good luck, guys.